So my name's Dr. Luisa Searle. I'm a consultant psychiatrist. I've been a psychiatrist now for about 15 years or so. My specialty is adult mental health and also addictions or substance misuse. Depression, probably the most common mental health disorder that we'll see in the UK. I'd be incredibly surprised if you don't know somebody who's suffering with depression. I guess with depression, the symptoms have to be persistent. So it's not just feeling a bit sad for a day or two. It's 2 weeks or more, low mood, low energy, and not being able to enjoy things that you would otherwise normally enjoy. So those tend to be the three main core features of depression. You don't have to have all three, but it's more about the persistence that is the sort of key part in helping to potentially diagnose somebody with depression. And then alongside those sort of three key features, there can be biological symptoms, so poor sleep, or sometimes sleeping too much. Appetite can be disrupted. You can eat less or sometimes eat more. You can experience upset in your gastrointestinal system, so feeling sick and having diarrhea, constipation, these kinds of things. There can be loss of libido as well. Your concentration and focus can go down, and people can feel irritable, angry. Their mood can feel like it's constantly in flux, and people can feel very helpless and hopeless. And in more extreme cases, sadly, people can feel suicidal. And in some cases, people do actually attempt to take their own lives. So I'd say to anybody that's feeling like that, that's feeling, suicidal, please seek help immediately. There's your GP, there's A&E, and there are sort of like 24-hour emergency mental health services as well, helplines that you can call. Antidepressants definitely have their place. I like to think of antidepressants as almost like the sticking plaster. So if I use an analogy where you've broken your leg, so think about depression in that sort of similar way. So the depression is you've broken your leg, and the antidepressant is the cast that goes over the top and just keeps your brain steady. And stops it from getting worse. So it's not necessarily fixing the problem, but it is helping you to cope. It's helping you to get picked up off the floor, because depression can feel very much like you're at the bottom of a very deep hole, and you look up and you just can't see the light. There is no hope. You just feel utter despair. The antidepressant can just help you to get up off the floor, look up and see the light at the end of the tunnel again. But it doesn't necessarily cure the problem. And it comes, there are risks and benefits to all types of medication. And so we always like to think about antidepressant treatment very carefully and whether it's right for you. And I think, in the more extreme forms of depression, they definitely have their place. We have to do something quick. We need to help people quickly. And, I don't want to see anybody in that extremely distressed state. And so, like I was saying, it's like the plaster cast over the top. It just helps to just stabilise, manage in the short term, reduce the risks, and then just help people move forward. Now, in milder forms of depression, actually, antidepressants don't necessarily, you don't necessarily need them at that stage. It might just be that just knowing what's going on with you is enough to just help you feel like, okay, I'm not going crazy. And potentially milder forms of depression will just resolve themselves anyway, naturally, within 3 to 6 months. So what we do in those circumstances, I say to people, is control what you can control at these times. So you can't control how you're feeling, but what you can control is, what am I eating? Who am I interacting with? What am I doing like day to day that is going to bring me a little bit of satisfaction in life, that is going to bring me a little bit of enjoyment? So you can control what you're putting into your body. So I say to people, you must eat well. You have to eat 3 times a day. And even if you can't eat a full meal, that's fine. Just take a saucer. Just take a smaller portion. Put a small portion on your plate and eat that. I'd rather people eat little and often than nothing at all, because there's no way you're going to get over your depression with poor nutrition. It's just not going to happen. You can try to keep active. And what I mean by active is I don't mean you have to go out and socialise and, be doing all sorts of activities, but you can get out of bed, you can get dressed, you can have a shower. These things are intensely important to give your brain some biofeedback that, you know what, I'm worth looking after, I'm worth taking care of. If you don't do these things, you're sending sort of like negative feedback to your brain that, my body's not worth taking care of, essentially. So that's what I mean by take control of the things that you can control. And they're not necessarily going to make you feel better in terms of recovering fully from depression. But if you're feeling like you're at a 2, and then you eat, and then you wash, and then you get up out of bed, that's going to take you to a 3 or a 4. So that's what I mean about take control of the things that you can control. And that's milder forms of depression. And then hopefully, with regular routines, good nutrition, some socialising. Socialising is actually really, really important when you're feeling depressed, even though you don't feel like it. So just pick somebody who is easy for you to be around, essentially. Somebody who you trust, somebody who you normally enjoy being around, and just try and arrange a 5-minute chat with them to begin with. Just small chunks of things. When you're depressed, just small chunks of things are much, much easier for you to kind of contemplate and potentially do. So just set yourself small challenges. Yeah, control what you can. And then hopefully, for a lot of people with milder forms of depression, within 3 months or so, it will resolve on its own. The other useful thing to try to engage with at this sort of time is low intervention kind of talking therapy. So things like CBT, counselling at this stage with milder forms of depression can be really, really helpful. And then, there are more intensive nutritional strategies that can be utilised. So there are theories about depression that it's related to inflammation in the body. So you can manipulate your diet and then sort of bring down inflammation in the body with food, and that can help you to feel better. And then there are also theories around the bugs that live in your guts, essentially, and those being out of sync. Yeah, thank you. So those being out of sync, and that causing depression as well. So that you can try to support the gut microbiome, as it's called, and that can also support depression. So with depression, I feel like there's lots of little things that you can do to try to manage it. Some people use medical cannabis as well to relieve their depression, and sometimes they feel that is preferable to antidepressants, because sometimes antidepressants make people feel a bit less than themselves. They feel like a part of their personality can get stripped away, but they feel better. So it's not to negate the usefulness of antidepressants, but just saying that these are some of the side effects that people can experience that makes them want to seek out other types of treatment. So, with depression, come and talk to me. I can talk you through all the different options in much more detail, and you can try and decide what might be the best route for you.